Hey, what's up guys? What if Typhlosion here, and I am back with another episode of What If Female Deku Had a Nightmare Quirk, or could summon the Nightmare animatronics from FNAF 4. Now, I believe I last left y'all off on a cliffhanger of, Izu deciding that she's going to infiltrate UA, and that she has forged documents about her quirk being Shadow Guardian, which the quote-unquote Guardian being Nightmare himself. Now, with that being said, how do I want to do this? Okay, so, she then goes to UA to take the entrance exam with Nezu, Aizawa, and I believe Vlad? One of those watches her take the test. They see she passes the written exam with ease, and when it comes to the practical exam, that's when they see her summon Nightmare. With that being said, Aizawa is looking at Nightmare in a weird way. Almost like he has seen that kind of summoning before, but he's not entirely sure where. So he just puts it off to the side as Nezu tells her she can go ahead and start. So she hops onto Nightmare's shoulders and have him run into the city, destroying robots left and right. While all this is happening, Nezu is talking to Aizawa about how much her summoning resembles the Nightmare Bunny's summoning of her animatronics. And Aizawa agrees with him on this, but they just keep it in as a side note of she might be the Nightmare Bunny, but they won't care, nor will they know anytime soon. So, she passes their tests, and they say she's in. She smiles and thanks them for letting her do this, as they could have just said no. They know that she can't transfer. So she then leaves as the next day comes, and it's a Monday. She's standing outside the door to 1A in the UA's uniform, as Aizawa then calls her in, saying that they have a transfer student joining them. Ida protests a little, but everyone is still a bit down after the death of Mineta. And yes, I did kill him off because I hate that little grape. Anyways, so she walks in and introduces herself as Izumi Kato. Bakugo, looking at Izumi, jolts up and slams his hands on his desk, saying, "Who the fuck are you? Why do you look like Izumi Midoriya?" Everyone looks between Bakugo and Izumi as Izumi feigns ignorance, as she already knows that Bakugo has caught on to her since he's known her for a while. So, as all that's happening, some of the kids are talking with each other about how Bakugo might know her. But they keep quiet, not wanting to seem rude. So, they go through their classes and such, with a few students asking her what her quirk is, as she says it's a Shadow Guardian. As Sue then says, is it like Tokiyami's quirk being what was it? Dark Shadow. Tokiyami quirk being Dark Shadow. Izumi says kind of. It's more of a summoning quirk than a mutation type. Tokiyami, being piqued by this, asks her if it's okay if she uses it, because he wants to see exactly what kind of quirk she has. Izumi, not really caring, says sure, as she then asks Aizawa if it's okay for her to show off her quirk for a little bit. Aizawa, knowing it's just a summoning quirk and that it can't do much harm without orders, says yes, she can, as Izumi then has a black plushie of Nightmare appear in her hands. Everyone's asking her what that exactly is, as she says it's my guardian, or Shadow Guardian. Sue, being blunt, says, but isn't that just a plushie? Izumi, chuckling at this a bit, saying, right now, yes, he is. But if I do this, as she then drops the plushie, they see it turns into Nightmare. Tokiyami, being surprised, so along with Sue and the rest of the class, then says that's a cool quirk. As Bakugo then finally connects the dots that Izumi is the exact same Izumi he knew from preschool, but she just changed her name is in hiding. Bakugo, being a bit pissed that his old best friend is right in front of him, but he can't really say anything to her, or she'll just brush her off as I have no idea who this kid is. Decides to go up to Izumi and tell her to meet him during lunch, and that he has something to talk to her about. The girls, being shippers, see this and say, ooh, being very interested in what Bakugo's wanting to tell her. Bakugo then tells all of them to shut up like he normally does, but has this weird expression on his face, almost like he's regretting something, which makes everyone wonder what exactly would make him regret anything. Izumi telling him sure. They then go on with their day as lunch soon comes. Now, Bakugo drags Izumi out into the front field of the school and then pins her to a wall as she smirks and says, "Ooh, Bakugo, I didn't know you were the forward type." Bakugo telling her to shut up and just then says, "Where the hell have you been, Izumi?" She chuckles and says, "Oh, I've been here and there. What's it to you? I thought I was just a villain to you." This hits Bakugo in a bad spot, as he remembers the day she ran away because someone called her a villain. She giggles at this as she says, "Aww, is the little Bakugo saddened about how I ran away?" As she just keeps poking fun at him. Bakugo then punches the wall next to her, making her jump a little because she was not necessarily expecting it, but at the same time she was. As Bakugo then says that she is a horrible friend, she smirks and says that she knows, and that she doesn't necessarily care. Bakugo, hearing that she doesn't really care, gets a bit saddened by this, but knows that there's nothing else he can do. So he just lets it be, as he then says, "Come over to my place after school." This catching Izumi off guard, then says, "Can I bring my girlfriend?" Which catches Katsuki off guard as he looks at her and says, "You're lesbian?" She giggles and nods as Katsuki sighs and says, "Fine." Izumi, smiling about this, then says, "Alright, we'll meet you at your place later today." Katsuki nods and then walks away. Now, some girls saw their little interaction as they're thinking, what the heck just happened? It's almost like they knew each other for their whole lives, which they've known about each other for a while, yes, but for their whole lives, no. So, they get half a point on that. But in all seriousness, after the school day ends, Katsuki is waiting at the front gate for Izumi, not wanting her to leave his sight. Izumi sighs, knowing exactly what he's doing, says, Alright, fine, let me just call my girl." Izumi calls Toga and tells her to meet her at a restaurant that's close by Katsuki's house, as that she remembers. Toga asks her if this is going to be a date. Izumi then says no, it's not going to be a date, sadly, but we can go on one after. Toga saying okay, knowing that something's up, then hangs up the phone as Izumi tells Katsuki that she's on the way there and that they'll have to necessarily pick her up. Katsuki, just nodding at this, starts walking to his place with Izumi following behind him. After a while, Katsuki then perks up and asks her where the hell she's been all these years. Izumi, not really caring for all that, says that she's been living her life the way she wants. Katsuki, understanding that she might have become a villain, then asks her what happened to that bunny. Izumi smiles and says, "Nightmare Bonnie? Oh, I still have him, along with a few others." Katsuki then realizes that she forged her quirk of it not necessarily being a shadow guardian, but more of her original quirk, but no one has seen that nightmare animatronic being summoned just yet, as he then puts two and two together and says, "Wait, you're the Nightmare Bunny." Izumi giggles, saying, "Yep, but if you tell anyone, I'll have to kill you," as he sees she means it. He gulps in a little bit, but nods his head, saying, "Alright." They soon get to the restaurant as they see Toga waiting for them, as she then runs over to Izumi, hugs her, and then kisses her on the lips. As Katsuki then says, "I still can't wrap my head around you being a lesbian." Izumi looks at him and says, "Whatever, you angry Pomeranian." This pissing Katsuki off, they start to have a argue fit. Toga not really caring about Katsuki, but wanting her girlfriend to stop, pulls Izumi to her, hugs her, and kisses her again, making Izumi stop her angry little fit with Katsuki. Now, they then head over to Katsuki's house as he barges in and announces his presence like he always does, which doesn't surprise his parents, and he says he's brought a few friends over. His mother, being intrigued about who these friends are, comes down and sees that he's an older version of Izumi since the last time she saw her, and another girl. I forgot his mother's name. Mitsuki? Yeah. Mitsuki, looking at Izumi, gasps, and says, "Izumi, is that you?" She smiles and waves and says, "Hello, Auntie," since that's the name Katsuki and Izuku gave to each other's mothers. Respectively. Mitsuki wanting to call Inko, saying that she's found Izumi, but then stops, remembering what happened when her quirk first manifested, as Izumi then says, "Don't call my mother." She could tell that Mitsuki wanted to call Inko, but wasn't too sure if she should, as because of what happened last time. Inko being scared stiff of her own daughter. This being the case, and the fact that Izumi has no real intentions of going back to her mother, tells Mitsuki not to call her. After a little while, Mitsuki and Bakugo all asks Izumi what exactly does she do now. Izumi, being carefree and letting them know that if they tell anyone, she'll hunt them down. This catching Mitsuki off guard because this was not the sweet little girl she remembered. As Izumi then says, "I'm a villain," catching Mitsuki way off guard. Mitsuki then tries to phone for cops, but sees Toga is twirling a knife in her hand and is shaking her head. As she gets the signal of, "If you do that, you're dead." Mitsuki then puts her phone away as Toga smiles and puts the knife down. Now, while all this is happening, Bakugo's father is out at work, so he will not be appearing anytime soon, if that's what y'all are wondering. But they catch up as much as they could, necessarily, as Izumi then says that they need to go. Mitsuki wanting her to stay just a little longer, but Izumi says no, they have to go now, or else the big brother figure in this little family is going to worry. Katsuki, turning his head to the side a little bit, asks her what she means, as she then just calls Katsuki dumb and explains that there's someone else living with them, and he is like the big brother of the family. So they then leave as Mitsuki sighs in relief a little bit, but also in a bit of disappointment, because she would have never expected the cute and happy little girl that she once remembered to turn into a villain, and a cold-hearted one at that. But Katsuki, knowing the exact reason why she might have become a villain, and knowing that quirks sometimes affect personality traits, knows that it was only a matter of time before she started to feel the way she, or act the way she does now. Even if she stayed with Katsuki and the rest. Now, let's change perspective over to Dabi. Dabi, being at their little humble abode, wonders what exactly the Izumi and Toga are doing, because once he got back, he remembers leaving Toga home alone, which is never a good idea in his opinion. He remembers leaving her home alone and with strict instructions not to leave. But when he gets back, she is gone with the wind. Him sighing quite a bit, then pulls out his phone and calls Izumi, asking if she knows where Toga is, as she then says that she is right next to her and that they're going on a date. Dabi sighing, saying okay, then hangs up, but then gets another phone call. As he, in this what if, he's kept in touch with Toroki or Shoto, but he doesn't let Todoroki see his face or what he looks like now, as he doesn't want his image being ruined in his younger brother's eyes. This being the case, Shoto calls him, saying that they've got a new girl in their class and that she's a bit cold-hearted. Dabi chuckling a bit and thinking in his mind, you have no idea how cold-hearted she is. Then listens to his brother ramble on about how cute and pretty she is, as Dabi then says, you know she's lesbian, right? Having it slip out, not realizing what he said. But after he says it, he realizes what he said, as Shoto then asks him, you know her? Dabi cursing, then says, yeah, I know her. Todoroki then asks, saying that if she knows where he is, he just stays quiet. Not wanting to confirm nor deny this, but unintentionally he confirms it. As Todoroki then says out loud, thinking he didn't, that he should ask her where Dabi is. Dabi then saying she won't tell him. Shoto asking him why, as Dabi then tells him that because she's made a promise to me that she won't reveal my location to anyone, especially the Todorokis. Shoto feeling a bit betrayed, but also knowing why at the same time. Is a bit saddened by this, but nods his head, saying, okay. Or he says through the phone, okay, as he then hangs up. Now, we'll skip a week we'll skip a week and a half to where it's Thursday, as everyone's in class, and Aizawa walks in saying that the sports festival is up and coming. Izumi being quite excited about this, because she's always wanted to be in a festival of sorts, but she's always on the opposite side of being either the watchee or the interruptee. As Aizawa tells them they have a week to train and prepare, and that they're being given that week off. Now, this being the case for them having the week off, Izumi then asks Aizawa one question. Will we be able to use our quirks for every event? Aizawa nodding his head, saying yes. Izumi then starts to smirk, as she's been able to change the way one of her Nightmare animatronics look, that being Nightmare himself, to where she can pull her fake quirk off even more. But it will also be useful in her villain work. So, she, the rest of the day goes as normal, as she's, who should I make the little group with this time? Yeah, I'll make it with Tokuyami and Bakugo. Weird combination, I know, but there's a reason. Tokuyami being close to her because of their quote-unquote similar quirks. Bakugo being for watching exactly what she will do and so on. Wanting to catch her if she does anything villainous. Izumi knowing this, but still hangs out with him. So, as all this is happening, at lunch she's sitting with Tokuyami, and Tokuyami then brings up that he has a crush for Sue. Izumi smirking and telling him that he should just confess, but him being a bit shy, not wanting to. Izumi pokes fun at him for a little bit until he tells her to stop, which she does, trying to pull off the innocent friend look, which she pulls off quite nicely to people who don't know her. Dark Shadow is being more, being able to speak Tokuyami's thoughts out more, how do I say this? Not proficiently, openly? Yeah. Speaking Tokuyami's thought more openly, not being afraid or caring about what he says. Then tells Tokuyami that he should just go and tell her, because she probably feels the same, and yada yada yada. So, that goes on, and Tokuyami and Izumi, Izumi helps Tokuyami train his quirk, as she's actually grown a bit of an attachment to him being a friend. And Tokuyami is the only one she has this attachment to. Everyone else she couldn't care less. So, they go on and train for a week, as Tokuyami's never seen her train her quirk. He asks her if she's going to train her quirk as well, her saying that she will not be training her quirk because it's dangerous when she does. Tokuyami asking her what she means, as she then explains her falsified quirk, which being she can summon a shadow guardian being, but they might not always listen or protect her. It just depends on her emotional state. That being semi-true with her emotional state being reflected in her Nightmare animatronics ways of thinking. So, all this happens as Tokuyami understands. So, they go on as the sports festival then finally comes. Now, Izumi, being who she is, during the first event, which is still the obstacle course race, she decides to summon Nightmare almost instantly, before the race even starts. As she then hops onto his back, and Nightmare going down on all fours, getting ready to start sprinting. As all the other contestants sees how sharp his claws, and that he has sharp teeth in his mouth, and the mouth being a wide grin. Decides to stay away from her. As the announcement gets called to start the race, Nightmare hops up and clings onto the roof of the entranceway and starts running across the roof with Izumi holding onto his neck. Now, everyone else does the exact same as in canon, but with a few slight differences. Now, when Izumi gets to the 0 pointers area, she gets off of Nightmare and lets him plow through them first, so that she has an easier time going, as she runs the exact same way as him. This being the case, Izumi soon fly past Shoto. But during the next obstacle, which is the pitfall, she decides to call back Nightmare, and she then runs across the tight ropes. As agile as she is, as she then makes it across. And she's in third place because Shoto just iced his way over, whereas Bakugo flew his way over with his explosions. Now, that all said and done, here comes the mines. Izumi sees both Bakugo and Todoroki trying to be careful and also knocking each other over while in a minefield. Izumi, being the smart cookie she is, decides to call Nightmare back. Now, with this, she then tells Nightmare to pick up some of the mines, but make sure they don't explode in his hand. Nightmare nodding and starts collecting a few mines. Now, he then hands a mine over to Izumi after she uses the last one. Now, what she uses these mines for, and this will be funny, she she throws them all around Todoroki and Bakugo. I don't know why I kept trying to say Tokigami, but she throws them in front, behind, and to the sides of both Shoto and Bakugo, making them the center of explosions and having a chain reaction because she's making them close enough to where when one goes off, it hits another, and it hits another. So there's a chain reaction happening. And she just walks forward while throwing mines every so often, making sure the chain reaction continues. Now, she just has this straight path that she's made, but she also has Nightmare laying mines down behind them so that no one can follow them. Shoto and Bakugo, being disoriented, then decides to run, but they run the wrong way. And they see that people to them are running the wrong way, but realize no, it's them. As they then turn around and catch back up. Izumi already taking first place, Bakugo and Shoto being close second and third respectively. And everyone else is in their exact same place. Now, the cavalry battle, she teams up with, I'm gonna say Tokoyami, and, I'd say Sue. She teams up with Tokoyami and Sue, knowing exactly what she just did to Tokoyami. As their points average is around 1,000,000 and 300, I believe. So they're pretty high up there. As Mike also says that the first place winner of the obstacle course gets 1,000,000 points. This being said, Izumi calls Nightmare and has everyone gets on his back, with Sue being up front, Izumi in the middle, and Tokoyami in the back. Now, while they're all on the back of Nightmare, which they allow since it's technically Izumi's quirk. So the round starts as they have people running after them. Izumi asked Dark Shadow to cover her head area where the bandanas are, so it can't be easy to grab and yank. Dark Shadow, complying, does so as they start to run around. They are a bit too fast for people who are just running, since they are technically on a bear that is sprinting non-stop. So, everything goes on as in canon, except that they don't lose their points because of Nightmare and Dark Shadow Nightmare being fast and Dark Shadow covering their points. With Izumi, Tokoyami, and Sue all defending whoever gets too close, and, like knocking them away or knocking them off their other teammates, tripping them up, and so on and so forth. So yeah. Now for the one-on-one battles. I'd say for the first round, which was Izuku and Shinso, it will be Shinso and Izumi, but the winner would be Izumi. Mainly because she doesn't really speak while fighting, as well as she just summons Nightmare and tells him to knock Shinso out of the ring. Shinso, his quirk being mind control, could not necessarily get control over Nightmare nor Izumi because she was not directly talking to him. So that fight goes like that. The other fights go as canon, with instead of whoever Uraraka fights, it would be Sue fighting that person. Um, uh, and yeah, and May also being there as well for her specific fights, as she was in one of the winning teams, just not Izumi's. So everything goes on, and Izumi is winning her fights. But now comes Izumi's and Shoto's fight. Shoto's still wanting to know where Toya is, aka Dabi, says that if he wins this bout, she'll have to give him a hint on where Toya is. Izumi, not recognizing the name, says she doesn't know that person. As Shoto then says he might be going by a different name. As Todoroki then says his quirk is crematation. Or crematation. Crematation? Blue fire, whatever. As Izumi then realizes that he means Dabi. As Izumi agrees, but wants nothing else in return. As the fight goes on, and Izumi is dodging Shoto's ice blasts, while also defending against Nightmare. Now, at the end, Shoto decides to use his fire side because he was getting annoyed that he couldn't hit them. As he then makes a trap for Izumi and then manages to push her off the ring with his eyes after he trapped her in fire. There. So, that kind of went to canon. Now, keep in mind, Izumi is also trying to play the role of a newbie hero, which she does not like, but she is playing it pretty well. As the fight with Sue and Bakugo, Sue putting up a decent enough fight, but Bakugo ends up winning ultimately. As the rest of the sports festival going to canon. Now, back into the classroom after 2 days after the sports festival, Aizawa has a stack of papers on his desk as he says, now y'all be looking for a partnership or whatever it was called. Forgot what it was called. Shit. Study. I forgot what it was called, but whatever it is. And that they have offers from varying offices. As they look over theirs, as in this what if Mirio does get one for all. Alright. As Izumi sees that she has an offer from Hawks himself, So does Sue and Tokoyami. But Sue decides to go with who she went with in canon, and Tokoyami does as well. The only difference being Izumi deciding to take a work study. That's what it was. Work study. Deciding to take a work study with Hawks instead of Gran Torino. And I'll leave y'all off on this little cliffhanger right before the Stain arc. And I have a interesting idea on how I can do that arc. But for now, this is all you'll be getting. And if you have any comments or ideas that I should do, comment them down in the comment section. And I'll see you guys and gals next time.